Welcome to Still Creative. My name is Eric Averett, and I work at Fusion Alliance, where one of our company values is creativity. And I want to thank Fusion for their support of Still Creative, where we explore the thread between individual creativity and innovation at the organization level. My guest today is Sam Bloomquist, and Sam is a friend of mine. He is the COO and CTO of Driver Reach. Driver Reach is an Indianapolis-based software company. They've built a platform for driver recruiting and compliance management for the trucking industry. They're part of the reason we're here in this great studio today.
It'd be like Wayne's World when they go from city to city, Eric and the green screen.
Oh yeah, it would have been bad. It would have been bad. So the name, I'm looking over at the sign there, but the name Still Creative, as I shared with you, really came from wanting to be able to introduce great people like yourself, but also to share a little bit about my story from the standpoint of creativity. And I think about creativity and the thread from individual creativity through innovation at the organizational level.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I know that any creativity that I had, or much of it that went beyond what my friends, close friends and family saw, was buried under stuff, resistance and other things. So I needed to get to a place of what I think of as stillness, among other things, stillness to be able to be creative in a more public kind of a way. So that's what was behind the name.
Yeah, I love that name. It really resonates with me in a number of ways. I think, when I think about, actually, there's an author I really like a lot, Cal Newport. He's written Deep Work, and I think his latest book is A World Without Email. And he writes a lot about in order to really think deeply and to do deep creative work, and kind of the mind share of like tech industry kind of stuff, or the new economy where it's thought workers that are really driving it, which is where I am. Growing up being a programmer and developer, and now running a tech company with Jeremy at Driver Reach. Having that focus and that time to do that deep work, it's all about cutting out some of the noise, finding the stillness. You can't do it unless you have time, long blocks of uninterrupted time, and that sort of thing. So there's a creativity, I think, when you're younger that's just easy. Like there's something about, I don't know, teenage years and early 20s where you've got this passion and this zest and like you want to be creative all the time. And it's just, things come easy. And then you kind of get to our age and, the daily grind kicks in and you got a million responsibilities and so many things to do. And so it's easy to lose track of that creativity thing. So I don't know if this is how you intended it, but I get sort of like this punk rock, the inner punk rocker in me comes back and like, okay, I'm a corporate stiff in my 40s, but I'm still creative. So like, yeah, I liked it. I liked it lots of different ways.
Yeah, I love it. I love the way it resonates with you, and you've connected it obviously to so many things. So that's very cool. So
from a focus on technology and a focus on leading the dev team and the product team to create software into, at the beginning of last year, Jeremy and I talked about it made sense for my role to shift more across the company into a COO role. That context switch thing became a big deal, right? So it's like we're working with 4 different departments. There's meetings all the time. You're like back to back to back to back, and you're going from let's think about customer success to, okay, what's happening in sales? Now, what about marketing? Now, what over here in development again? Now, tech support, what's going on? And it's hard to have that deep work when you're doing too much of that context switching. So there were definitely some times over the course of last year where it was like, this is too many meetings. And I don't think my decision-making or my strategic creative thinking is really being utilized to the maximum potential here, just because like, if you're going from one thing to another like that, you don't really, it's like, okay, let me learn as much about this situation as I can right now while I'm thinking about it, that it wasn't in my head. And then we'll make a decision based on whatever I quickly gathered from what you're saying to me,
Right.
together. And I just don't think you make the best strategic decisions when you're doing that sort of thing. So we reached a point where it's like, okay, these meetings are all really important. Like any individual one that somebody tries to schedule, you look at it and you say, yeah, that's important. We should talk about that. But if you try to do too many of those things all at once, number one, like you don't make good decisions. But number two, like you're just trying to move too many little things and you don't get a sense of like it feels like everything just inches along instead of one thing really going far and then another thing really going far and kind of getting that momentum. So we said we gotta do something different here. Less meetings.
Yeah.
and then when you say, okay, if we're gonna do less meetings, well, we have to make the meetings that we do have so much more effective. So we started thinking about like, how do you get more information density into the meeting? How do you get more preparation and planning into the meeting? And I saw my role sort of shift into, as COO, I'm here to help provide strategic context. And I need to block out a certain number of hours a day that I'm just thinking about and writing about strategy. And then we get together and brainstorm. Here's what I've been thinking about, or we do a thing that we got from I think some of the books about Netflix culture of like farming for dissent. So own an idea, whether it's me or somebody else. Like if you want to have a meeting about something that we're trying to decide which way to go or what to do, like you own that idea. You write up a proposal about what you think we should do. Try to think of all the ins and outs and what different options and points and counterpoints and write that up as thoroughly as you can, and then come to the meeting and present that and see what kind of feedback we get. Give people a chance to read through, think about it, farm it for dissent, and then just go on it, act on it. So I see it as like, if I can provide enough strategic context, then other people can own those decisions, right? We hire really bright, super talented, smart people, and it like by taking the time to focus and just make sure they have the strategic context, then they can be the decision makers. They can own what we do, and the whole can be a whole lot better than the sum of the parts, to use the old cliche.
That's great stuff. Strategic context. I love that. And I'm thinking about, what the changes you described are experienced as from the standpoint of the members of the team, and things like job satisfaction and their careers. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think when I think about like, okay, the best jobs that I've ever had, it's not always a job that pays the most, though I think pay is really important. And we want to make sure that we're, keeping up with markets and paying people really well and treating them well and stuff like that. But there were times in our, startup mode where it's like, we're competing with a $30 billion unicorn, right? For the same talent. Well, what can they give you versus what can I give you? And why would you want to come work with me instead? And I think the key is like that meaningful work side of things. So if you know that what you're working on and you being here versus somebody else is going to shape this product into a different thing, or is going to make an impact in that customer's life in a different way than if somebody else sitting in your shoes, then you want to do it, right? Like that. I feel like the jobs where you don't feel like a cog on a in a wheel on a wheel in a machine. Those are the jobs that people want to do. Those are jobs that people keep. And then it's also working with other really talented people. Like that's what matters in jobs. And so where do really talented people want to work? Somewhere where they're empowered to make decisions and somewhere where the work matters. And so like at Driver Reach, we feel like the trucking industry is this industry that is there. There's sort of a rising tide of change makers in the industry, but they're technologically a little behind some of the rest of the industry. So there's this huge opportunity of people who are ready and hungry to do things in a different way. And if we can provide some of the tools, then we can make their work life and we can make the lives of the drivers that they're employing, and the whole recruiting and hiring experience a whole lot better. So it just feels like, okay, this is a dent I can leave in the universe in a positive way, and it matters and it means something. So that's what we focus on. So it's been a lot of fun. But I feel like we're just getting started. We just closed the Series A, so it's like a new round.
Congratulations on that. Yes, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's like, okay, now we're in scale up mode. We found product market fit. We got some serious traction. Now how can we repeat and scale and grow this thing? And it's going to be an interesting new challenge in the year ahead. We're doing a lot of hiring right now. But it's really exciting.
So one of the things that, I was thinking about, and there's so many great things you've shared. So as we start to wrap up and linking back to Still Creative, one thing you mentioned as it relates to Driver Reach is what I took a little bit looking back on the success, maybe things you learned along the way, looking ahead to the future, the potential to do meaningful work and to grow the company, but then coming back to, for me, awareness and mindfulness and stillness is a lot about being in the present in one-on-one conversations or in meetings, and looking at things that you can do to help create an environment where people are able to be as creative as they can be. And you've clearly done that at Driver Reach. To your point, it's an ongoing work in progress,
Yeah,
and
for
there is
sure.
a tendency for organizations to move back the other direction. So I know you'll keep an eye on that. And so I just want to, I guess, close by saying thank you again, Sam, for carving out some time. Any other closing thoughts that you have?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been really fun. Always enjoy talking with you.
Yeah.
Hope we can do it again sometime. But I like what you're saying about that. Yeah, even when you think of those stressful situations, right? There is, you get the perspective by going, where were we a few years ago? Where are we going? And how much have we accomplished here? But then it's like, but there's this urgent thing that I got to handle right now. So let's be present in this moment. What's the next step? What's the thing that gets past this issue or relieves the tension here, or, gets us closer to where we want to go next? And, kind of think about the future, work backward, be in the present. I like that. It's good stuff.